I'd been skimming leaves off her pool since late morning, trying not to watch the way sunlight broke across her kitchen windows. She moved inside somewhere, a vague shape behind the glass, and I told myself to focus on the net. Chlorine stung my hands. The air smelled of cut grass and hot tile. It was one of those afternoons when everything feels a little too bright, like you're awake inside a dream. Mrs. Hale, no, Laura, she told me to call her that last week, wasn't like anyone I usually worked for. Mid-40s, dark hair pinned back in a loose clip, she had a way of speaking that was both careful and unhurried. I was 23, hustling side jobs between classes, and usually clients just wanted things done and gone. But she'd bring me water, sometimes linger to ask about my coursework, as if she actually listened. I rinsed the net and leaned it against the fence. For a second, the yard was silent except for cicadas and the faint hum of her refrigerator through the open kitchen door. I could have left. That was the plan. Instead, I found myself wiping my palms on my shorts, slow, like I was waiting for something. The screen door creaked. She stepped out barefoot, holding 2 glasses of lemonade. Her dress, soft, pale blue cotton, moved slightly in the breeze. It wasn't a dramatic entrance, but the kind that pulls your eyes without warning. She held 1 glass out to me. "You're going to melt out here," she said. I took the glass. "Thanks. Just finished up." Our fingers brushed as she passed it. A quick, almost accidental touch, but I felt it all the way to my stomach. I looked away first, sipping the drink even though it was too cold, the ice knocking against my teeth. "You always clean faster than I expect," she said, sitting on the edge of a deck chair. "Makes me wonder if you're just trying to get away from me." I laughed, but it came out uneven. "Or maybe I'm efficient." "Efficient," she repeated softly, eyes on the pool. "That's a good word." For a moment neither of us spoke. She swirled her lemonade. I watched a leaf drift across the water. The silence wasn't empty, more like a held breath. I became aware of the sound of her ankle bracelet moving when she shifted her foot, of a drop of water sliding down my arm from the skimmer pole. "I don't usually talk this much," she said suddenly. "You must think I don't." I cut in too quickly. "I don't think that at all." Her head turned toward me. There was a small, surprised crease between her brows, and then it smoothed. "Okay," she said quietly. The sun dipped behind a cloud, muting everything. She set her glass down and stood. For a heartbeat I thought she might go back inside. Instead she came a step closer, stopping just at the edge of my shadow. The scent of her perfume, something light, like citrus and paper, mixed with chlorine. "You've been coming here for 3 months," she said, eyes steady on mine. "And I've been thinking about asking you something." I swallowed. "What is it?" Her gaze flickered down, then back up. "Maybe not here," she murmured. "Not while you're working." She turned slightly, like she might walk inside, then hesitated. "Do you have a minute?" she asked, voice lower now, almost a whisper. Before I could answer, the doorbell rang inside the house, sharp, unexpected, echoing through the quiet yard. She flinched, glanced toward the sound, then back at me. For a second we just looked at each other, both waiting, both caught in the pause before whatever came next. The doorbell lingered in the air long after it had stopped ringing. Laura hesitated, glancing toward the house, then back at me. I didn't move. Somehow, standing there in the sun, skimming the pool, I felt like the world had shrunk just to that yard, just to her. "You don't have to come in," I said, trying to sound casual, but my throat felt tight. "I know," she replied, voice soft, almost vulnerable. Her hand brushed the railing as she leaned slightly forward. "It's complicated." Complicated. The word carried weight I didn't yet understand. I wanted to press, to ask what she meant, but I sensed it was delicate. Instead, I let the silence stretch. I'd noticed, over these past months, How carefully she moved around her house, how she kept the past tucked neatly behind polite smiles. Divorced for just over a year, she had shared little beyond polite anecdotes, enough to know she'd loved fiercely, and lost just as deeply. My own past was messy, too, crushed expectations, fleeting college romances that ended before they ever had a chance. But nothing had prepared me for standing here, watching a woman like Laura, feeling a pull I couldn't name. She shifted, and I caught the faintest flash of a scar on her wrist, barely visible, yet unmistakable. For a moment I wondered if it was old, if it was part of a story she never told anyone. I wanted to ask, but I didn't. She wouldn't tell me, not yet. "Do you ever?" she began, then stopped. Her eyes flicked toward me, hesitant, searching. "Do you ever think about what you're missing? What you could be missing?" I blinked, unsure how to answer. My heart picked up pace for reasons I couldn't rationalize. "Sometimes," I admitted finally. "But I don't." I stopped, shaking my head. "I mean, I try not to." Her lips quirked in the faintest smile, and my chest tightened. That smile, small and private, seemed meant only for me. I wanted to lean in, to hold the moment, but I held back. "You're 23, she said quietly, almost to herself. "You shouldn't be thinking about me." "I don't have a choice," I said before I could stop myself. The words came out rough, almost desperate. "I try not to, but I do." Her eyes widened slightly, and for the first time, she didn't look away. Instead, she leaned closer, and the scent of her, warm, faintly citrus, hit me in a way I couldn't ignore. Her hand brushed against mine as she reached for the lemonade glass. The contact was brief, accidental, but electric. I could feel the tension hum between us, unspoken and undeniable. She drew back slightly, a faint laugh escaping her. "This is dangerous," she whispered. "I shouldn't be doing this." "Neither should I," I replied, voice low. And yet neither of us moved away. We stayed like that for a long moment, the world narrowing to the feel of her hand near mine, the quiet splash of the pool, and the unspoken question lingering in the air: how far would we dare to go? I thought I'd cleaned the pool long enough to earn a few minutes of normal conversation, but nothing about Laura, or the yard, felt normal anymore. She laughed softly at something I said, leaning closer, her hand brushing mine again. This time it wasn't accidental. My pulse spiked. The moment hung there, suspended, electric. I wanted, no, I needed, to close the distance, to lean in and feel her lips against mine. And then the front door opened. Her neighbor, Mrs. Castillo, stepped onto the porch, holding a basket of muffins. "Laura! I thought I'd bring these by before it got too hot." Laura stiffened. I stepped back, suddenly aware of how close we'd been standing. My throat felt dry. "Thanks," Laura said, a little too quickly. She took the basket, setting it down on the railing. Her eyes flicked to mine, a silent, "not now," passing between us. I swallowed hard. Mrs. Castillo chatted on, oblivious, asking about the neighborhood, the weather, my helpful work with the pool. Every word felt like sandpaper on a wound. I wanted to run my hands through my hair, hide, escape, but I stayed, rooted to the deck. Finally, she left, promising to stop by again soon. The air shifted immediately after the door closed. Laura let out a long breath, her shoulders relaxing just slightly. I could see the tension she'd been holding in her jaw. "You didn't answer me earlier," she said, voice soft, almost teasing. "About what I was going to ask." I hesitated. My chest tightened. I don't know if I should answer that," I admitted, looking down at my hands. She stepped closer, just close enough that I felt the warmth radiating off her body. "Why not?" Her voice was a whisper now, thick with something I couldn't name. "I shouldn't," I said, swallowing. You're older," she said, cutting me off. Her lips curved faintly, teasing. Yes. And? Does that matter? I couldn't speak. I wanted to say yes, no, everything, nothing. My heart hammered, my mind screaming at me to pull away, to respect the boundaries that should exist. But every fiber of me was drawn to her. She reached out, touching my arm lightly, almost an accident, and my breath caught. I wanted to close my eyes, lean into her, but I forced myself to step back. I can't, I whispered. Her eyes softened, and I thought I saw the tiniest flicker of sadness, or maybe longing. I know, she said, voice low. But that doesn't mean it's not hard. We stood there, the pool between us, the summer heat pressing down, and the silence became unbearable. My stomach twisted, my hands itched to reach for her. Almost, just almost, I stepped forward, and she did too. Then, a laugh from inside the house made us jump apart. Someone was coming, her ex, maybe? Or a friend checking in? Whoever it was, it meant this moment was gone, vanished, leaving only tension in the air, a question neither of us dared to voice. When would we be alone again? The next morning, the pool glistened like glass under the early sun, but nothing about it felt calm. I arrived with my skimmer and bucket, expecting routine, but the second I stepped into the yard, I realized it wouldn't be routine today. Laura was sitting on the edge of the pool, her knees pulled up to her chest, hair loose and slightly damp from last night's shower. She hadn't smiled. Not once. Morning, I said cautiously, trying to sound casual. She didn't answer at first. Her gaze was fixed on the water, but I could feel her tension like electricity in the air. Then, without looking at me, she muttered, I need to tell you something. I froze. My heart thudded, and suddenly all the leaves in the pool, all the chlorine, didn't matter. Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Anything. You can tell me. Her hands twisted in her lap. I shouldn't feel like this. I know it's wrong, but I can't stop thinking about you. I swallowed hard. My chest felt tight, my palms clammy. Every rational thought screamed at me to step back, to remind her, or myself, that this was complicated, risky. But every part of me wanted to close the gap between us, wanted to reach for her and erase months of careful restraint. I feel the same, I admitted, voice low. The words were dangerous, reckless, but they came out anyway. I've tried not to, but I do. Her head snapped up, eyes wide. You mean it? I do, I whispered. And then I wanted more. I wanted to tell her how much, how every time she laughed or even just walked past me, it hit me like a jolt. But the words stayed buried, because saying them aloud would change everything. She leaned back on her hands, the sunlight catching her hair. I can't. I shouldn't. Her voice faltered. She looked away, and I saw a flicker of shame, of guilt, and maybe fear. I wanted to bridge the distance, to tell her she didn't have to think about right or wrong right now, that none of that mattered if we were honest with ourselves. But before I could move, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, my roommate's text. Dude, she's talking to someone else? Something twisted in my chest. Not jealousy at first, just fear. Fear that I'd misread her, that this fragile bubble between us could shatter before it even began. Laura noticed me stiffen. What is it? She asked, and the way her voice softened made my stomach flip. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The truth, the need to protect this moment, to not ruin it with a tangle of words, kept me silent. We stood there, only a few feet apart, the pool sparkling at our feet, tension humming in the air like a live wire. I wanted to reach out, to touch her, hold her, tell her everything I couldn't put into words. She stepped closer, eyes searching mine, lips slightly parted. My breath caught. Every instinct screamed forward, every rational thought screamed back. And then, A branch snapped somewhere in the yard. Someone was watching. We froze. Everything held in that split second, the desire, the guilt, the unspoken longing, hung between us, fragile, dangerous, unresolved. The air was heavy when I returned to Laura's yard later that afternoon. I thought we had a rhythm, quiet glances, soft conversation, but the second I stepped in, I sensed it had shifted. Laura was pacing near the pool, her hands tangled in her hair. Her phone was on the deck beside her, screen lit up with a message I couldn't see. "You won't believe this," she muttered, almost to herself. "Believe what?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She flinched at the sound of my voice, eyes widening. "It's my ex. He came by while you were here last week." I stopped mid-step, heart pounding. "What? Why, what happened?" He saw you, or at least thought he did," she said, voice trembling. "He didn't know it was just me and you talking, but he thinks something happened. He told my sister. And now, well, everyone thinks it." I felt a jolt of panic, then anger, and then something else, something raw and dangerous. The fragile bubble we had been building, the careful dance of glances and small touches, was exposed, vulnerable. Laura's eyes met mine, wide and desperate. "I didn't ask for this," she whispered. "I didn't want anyone to know." I swallowed, trying to process it. I wanted to grab her, tell her it didn't matter what anyone else thought, but the truth was we weren't invisible. Not anymore. I don't care what anyone thinks," I said finally, voice low, almost a growl. I want you to be safe." She shook her head, a tremor running through her. "Safe?" Her laugh was bitter, almost painful. "You don't get it. Safe doesn't exist anymore. Not if I don't stop feeling like this." And there it was, the confession she hadn't been able to voice before, the tension we'd been dancing around. She wanted it too. My chest tightened. I reached toward her, slowly, cautiously, as if any sudden movement would shatter everything. She didn't pull away this time. Her hand hovered near mine, fingers trembling slightly. I can't pretend anymore," she said, her voice breaking. I've tried to keep this under control, but seeing you, feeling like this, it's too much." Her words hit me like a punch and a caress all at once. I wanted to argue, to reason, to tell her we should step back, but the truth was staring me in the face. I didn't want to stop. I couldn't stop. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching across the pool, making everything feel smaller, more intimate, more dangerous. She swallowed hard, eyes glistening. "But if anyone finds out, I don't care," I interrupted, my voice shaking, my hand finally brushing hers. The contact was electric, grounding, terrifying. Her gaze locked onto mine, and for a second, everything else, the ex, the rumors, the consequences, disappeared. Then, the garage door creaked open. Someone was coming. We froze, fingers barely touching, hearts hammering, the fragile connection between us suddenly threatened. The tension, desire, and fear hung in the air, screaming one question: do we risk it all, or do we run while we still can? The garage door creak echoed behind us, but neither of us moved. I felt Laura's fingers tighten against mine, the small contact more powerful than anything I'd ever felt. The world seemed suspended in a single heartbeat, the sun warming our skin, the pool reflecting the tension in her eyes, the heat pressing down like a promise. "I don't care who saw what," I whispered. "I don't care about rumors, about consequences. I care about you." "Only you?" Her breath hitched, and she looked down at our intertwined hands. "You don't understand, this is crazy. I'm supposed to be careful, controlled. I can't risk everything. You've risked feeling like this for months," I said, voice firm. "We've both felt it. You just didn't admit it." Her gaze lifted, searching mine as if trying to read whether I meant it, whether I'd vanish the second fear knocked. And in that moment, she realized I wouldn't. She swallowed hard, her lips trembling slightly. I can't promise anything. I don't even know what comes next. But, she hesitated, fingers brushing my cheek, soft and electric. I can't stop this either. The words were a confession, a surrender. My heart thrummed so loudly I was certain she could hear it. I leaned closer, the distance shrinking between us. I wanted to speak, to explain all the thoughts that had haunted me, but words weren't enough. And then, instinctively, we closed the gap. Our lips met, tentative at first, like testing water, then firmer, desperate. The world melted away, the sun, the pool, the judgments, the past mistakes. Only the raw, messy truth remained. When we pulled back, just slightly, her forehead rested against mine. She breathed in unevenly, and I mirrored it, feeling every tremor, every small shift of her body against mine. I've waited too long, I murmured, brushing her hair behind her ear. And I can't let this be just a moment. She shook her head, eyes glistening. Neither can I. But this is messy. Dangerous. And she swallowed, taking in a shaky breath. I've never been this exposed to anyone before. I smiled softly, pressing my lips to her temple. Me either. That's why it matters. The garage door remained silent now. Somewhere inside the house, footsteps moved, but we didn't care. We weren't hiding, not anymore. The choice had been made, messy and human as it was. We acknowledged it, embraced it, even if the rest of the world might never approve. For a long moment, we simply held each other, letting the warmth and tension settle, either speaking, both aware that the path ahead would be uncertain. But in that hold, in that kiss, in that trembling brush of fingers, we understood each other completely. And then, a single thought lingered in my mind, sharp and thrilling. No matter what came next, we had crossed the line, together, and nothing would ever be the same. Days passed, but the pool never looked the same. Everything seemed sharper, brighter, as if the world had noticed the shift between us before anyone else could. Laura and I moved carefully around each other, but there was no denying it now. The air between us held a warmth that hadn't been there before, fragile but undeniable. We spent mornings together at the pool, not just working, but talking. Really talking, about the small things, the memories we carried, the regrets that still lingered. I learned about her first love, the heartbreak that had stayed with her longer than she wanted to admit. She learned about my mistakes, my brief, careless romances, and how none of them had taught me what it meant to care like this. It wasn't always smooth. A fleeting doubt here, a whisper of guilt there. Age, judgment, past lives, they lingered like shadows, reminding us we weren't in a perfect story. But somehow, it didn't matter. We navigated the tension together, laughing over spilled lemonade, brushing leaves from the water, teasing each other over small mistakes. Every touch, every glance, every silence felt weighty with meaning. One afternoon, she stood at the edge of the pool, sunlight glinting on her hair, and reached for my hand. I took it, our fingers weaving naturally. I never thought I'd feel like this again, she said softly. I didn't think I could. You can't, I whispered. And you did. She smiled, the kind of smile that held secrets, memories, and hope all at once. The air around us hummed, quiet and full. No one was watching, no judgments pressing in, just us. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't allowed myself before. The future didn't have to be frightening. It could be ours. Messy, complicated, thrilling, but ours. We sat together at the edge of the pool, legs dangling in the water, hands still intertwined. No dramatic confessions, no sweeping gestures, just the soft, steady rhythm of two people choosing each other again and again. Later, as I packed up my gear to leave, she pressed a hand to my chest, heart against heart. Promise me something, she whispered. Anything, I said. Promise me we'll be honest. No running. No pretending. Whatever comes next, we face it together. I promise, I said, and it felt like a vow not just to her, but to us, to the messy, human truth we'd found in each other. The sun dipped lower, painting the pool in molten gold. We stayed there, quiet, letting the world continue around us. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to hide anything, my feelings, my desire, my mistakes. We had crossed boundaries, risked judgment, faced fear, and yet here we were. Together. Real, flawed, human, and undeniably ours. And now I have to ask you, the story's listener, did you enjoy this journey? Did it make you feel the pull of a forbidden connection, the thrill of slow-burn love? What kind of stories would you like to hear next? Romance, suspense, or perhaps another story that reminds us that sometimes taking a risk is the only way to truly live?